benefits and some various case studies that we've done with some of our users to tell you a little bit about their experience on their journey through implementation of model-based definition.
はい、次のパートではですね、実際のユーザーの、導入事例を紹介していきます。その時の得られた効果等もお知らせします。
So we work very closely with our customers on their implementation. We as CAPVIDIA, we have a lot of experience in helping customers through the long journey of implementing MBD. And so as we've worked with them, we've gathered a lot of experience in this area of understanding how, what some of the benefits are, what are some of the metrics of improvement that can be seen with QIF. Because this is how they can build this story and promote MBD within their organization. I'm going to focus a little bit on these two items here in the next couple slides. One in the area of CMM with an aerospace and defense company. And then next we'll look at the area of PPAP generation or ballooning and report generation with a consumer goods company.
はい、CAPVIDIA 社のツール QIF 使ってですね、成功している事例、多くいろんな産業があるんですが、これアイコンみんなそれぞれの産業のアイコンになります。で、今日はですね、時間の関係で2社、ご紹介します。一つがですね、航空宇宙とか防衛の関連の金属精密部品加工しているようなメーカーになります。で、こちら CMM の使った効率化の発表をします。で、もう一つがですね、この洗濯機のアイコンですけど、その家電メーカーになります。
So I'll start with a short case study that was carried out with a user of ours, Raytheon Technologies, which is an aerospace and defense company in the United States. And so what this study was about is they wanted to prove to their management that there was a good use of model-based definition and a good use of QIF for their metrology department. They wanted to show that they could use MBD in their CMMs and that it's faster, that it's more efficient than manually programming CMMs. So what they did is they picked a part for a pilot, and this part was one of the most complicated parts that they could find because they really wanted to put it to a complete test. They already had information about how much time they had spent to manually program the CMM for that part. They knew that it was a 16-hour job. They had spent 16 hours programming that specific part. And so they went through this pilot, loading QIF data that was generated from, in their case, it was Creo Parametric, generating QIF data, running it through CMM software, and they went through this test to see how long it would take them. In this pilot, it took them 3 hours to generate the CMM program. So this was calculated as an 81% reduction in time for this task of CMM program generation. And it's important to note that this pilot was done about 6 years ago. So the technology at that time wasn't even as mature as it is now. And also the pilot was done with an untrained user. The person was using this software as the pilot was being executed. So the 3-hour time is actually quite a pessimistic number. And so this was a huge success for them. They were able to present this to their management, and it really helped to generate a lot of enthusiasm within the company for model-based definition approaches.
はい、成功事例の1社目がですね、レーションテクノロジーという、航空とか宇宙防衛の関連の会社になります。で、トライアルのしたものがですね、社内で一番難しい部品を、トライアルで選んでみましたと。で、PT シクリオから、のモデルを、QIF に書き出して CMM のプログラムを作ると。で、彼ちょっと説明してませんでしたが、こちらの CMM のプログラムはですね、弊社で取り扱ってますカナダのオリジンという会社のチェックメイトというソフトになります。で、従来手動でですね、CMM 上のプログラムを作ったのが、同じモデルで16時間かかってたのが、この QIF に使ったソリューションの場合に3時間になっていると。で、この効率化なんですけど、条件としてですね、トライアル使ったのはですね、初めて使うようなですね、新人体験実際に使ったことない人間が担当しているので、ここの時点で 81% の効率化できているので、もっと慣れた人が、最新のバージョンを使うともっと効率的な結果になるでしょうと。
Also, I would mention that in the digital version of these slides, we have links to some of these case studies at various different areas, and there is a QR code, I think, in the packet that you have where you can download this to view some of the other information in this slide.
配布するですね、ダウンロードしていただく PDF にしても同じようにこの形になっているので、リンクで、この辺の大元の資料も、取ることができます。
So I'll get into another use case here. This is with a different user of ours in a different industry. This is GE Appliances, which is a large appliance manufacturer in the US. And this case study is about their experience in terms of using model-based definition for their PPAP report generation, so for their inspection documentation, both internally and for their supply chain. GE Appliances is an interesting company because they create 100% of their design data is MBD. They do not do any drawings at all. They have transitioned entirely to MBD, and it's been a very, very big success for them. But there were some challenges along the way, and they have learned a lot since then, and CAPVIDIA has helped them providing tools with that MBD journey. A big lesson learned that they had was understanding the difference between machine interpretation and human interpretation for PMI. So what does that mean? If you have a CAD model and you're rotating it, a human can look at it with his eyes and see what's there. That's one mode of interpreting the PMI. The other mode, though, is taking that file and loading it in another software tool, for example, a CMM software tool, and seeing if the CMM software tool can read everything that's there. These are very different things. You might have a model that is very, very human readable. Annotations are laid out very nicely, but the semantics of the PMI might be broken so that the machine is not able to read this. And this was a big struggle for them because the machine, or the human readable side of things, was important for their team, and that's kind of an easier goal to accomplish with PMI, is creating good human readable PMI. But the challenge that they had was the machine readable PMI. They encountered many situations where the PMI was not able to be consumed by some of the software tools that they were using, like the CAPVIDIA software, like Polyworks is just something that they use a lot, some of their tolerance analysis software, etc. And so this was something that we set out with GE Appliances to help them solve.
はい、2つ目の成功事例としてはですね、会社名としてはですね、GE アプライアンスというですね、冷蔵庫とか洗濯機で有名な会社ですね。で、こちらの会社です、まずはですね、ヒューマンリーダブルで人間系が読める、理解できる、読みやすい 3D モデルを作っていくことが、1つ目の重要な課題だったんですが、2つ目もっと重要なところですね、マシンリーダブルでですね、解釈できるものを、これ QIF 使うことによって実現していると、それによってですね、品質保証の計画書を自動で生成したりですね、交差解析のソフトが使えたり、天狗処理のその 3D スキャナー系のポリワークス使えたりっていうことが、実現できるようになってきております。
So the tool that we provided to GE Appliances to help them with this goal of creating good machine-readable PMI to enable their software applications is part of our MBD Vidia technology, and it's called MBD Ready Check. What MBD Ready Check will do is it will analyze the PMI on a model to be able to tell what issues there are in terms of machine readability. So this video here will have a couple examples, very basic examples that are classic examples, and yeah.
これ MBD レディチェックっていう、そのいろいろ初期の頃ですね、3DS 運転用するときに問題が発生します。それを自動でチェックしてくれるツールになります。ここではですね、今ハイライトされたところは問題があるよと、アノテーション関連で問題があるよというところを自動チェックしたものですね。一つ目がですね、この円筒度に関してですね、チェックするとハイライトしたのがですね、エッジになってます。円筒エッジだとですね、円筒度つけれませんので、本当はその円筒のサーフェイスについてほしいんですけど、間違ってつけてたよと。これをですね、右クリックして修復というリベアボタンを押すとですね、これで自動的に修復されましたので、円筒についたという形になります。で、2つ目のところがですね、一度交差ですね。 これ上に 4X で今4か月ついているので4個ハイライトしなきゃいけないんですけど、上の1個しかハイライトしてませんと。こういうのがですね、人的ミス、設計の段階でのミスになるんですが、これをそのまま下流に戻してしまうと、せっかくのマシンリーダブルでの自動化ができない。こういったものも全部ですね、チェックして修復メニューを押すことによってですね、自動的にちゃんとした形の意味のあるものにできます。G アプライアンスはこれを運用するまでです結構ミスが発生してたんですけど、このツールを使うことによって、数ヶ月でほぼゼロに落としていくことができました。
So this tool was a very big helper for GE appliances on their MBD journey because it enabled their downstream software tools to be able to read the model-based definition data also. And what we have seen in terms of some of the metrics of this improvement is that they're able to generate all of their PPAP documentation using MBD now. The improvement that they've seen using model-based definition to generate their PPAP documents over the manual process is a 60% improvement of time, and that's on more than 2,000 PPAPs that they run through every year. And what we saw with the MBD Ready Check tool is that once they implemented this, they saw a very, very large reduction of errors in their PPAP process down to very, very close to 0 errors, which was a great benefit to them in terms of automating their PPAP process.
はい、G アプライアンスではですね、もうすでにこれを2400品ぐらい、以上、3DA のモデル作ってて、それを、PPAP っていうのはその品質保証ドキュメントを作る、自動生成するところですね。でこれで問題なくエラーなく作るようなことができるようになりましたと。それで、効率化としては 60% ぐらいの効率化を、実現しています。
And with that, I'd like to just say a few concluding words and talk about some of the major lessons that we've learned from our customers, from working with our customers on MBD implementations. And just some good points in terms of how you should best go about implementing model-based definition in your environment. So the first point is that you should understand the downstream reuse case for MBD. In other words, the objective of creating MBD is not just to put the 3D annotations on the model for humans to view it. You have to remember that there's software downstream that will be able to use it. And so it's important to look at and understand what are the software tools that will consume the MBD that I'm creating. And in that way, you can make sure that you're optimizing your PMI, you're optimizing your 3D annotations so that they're very well supported in that downstream software.
はい、MBD 3D モデルですね。要は3次元上に寸法をつけた話だけではなくてですね、後工程で再利用することによって、いろいろメリットがあることをしっかり理解してくださいということですね。
The next thing is to establish a cross-functional team. And what I mean by that is that typically in an MBD pilot or an MBD implementation, of course, the design engineering team will get involved with that effort because it's the design team that is placing the 3D annotations on the model. But it's important to also bring in other people from other parts of the organization into this effort, especially manufacturing and quality, because they are the consumers of the data that is produced by the design team, and so they can provide some very important insights about how the data should be created such that it will be consumed by their organization in a very efficient way.
はい、これまとめのページだったんですけど、最初にタイトルを説明するの忘れてましたね。DX の、そのデジタルものづくりのですね、アメリカでこのジャーニーで旅っていうのがよく使われてます。この従来のやり方から移行するのにですね、はい、結構な期間がかかるので、旅ですよと、それを始めるにあたってというところの話で、2つ目のキーワードとしてはですね、部門の枠を超えたような、チーム編成を設立してくださいと。縦割り社会のですね、部門のまま、この MBD のデジタルものづくり作れようとすると、組織として大体うまくいかないことが多いので、この横につながるようなチーム体制を作って、立ち上げてください。
The next point would be that we would suggest that you run pilots to try to prove the value of MBD and figure out how to do your MBD implementation. It's important to not try to boil the ocean, with your effort of implementing MBD. Start with small pilots, choose maybe particular products, choose a pilot team that will help implement this, and start small so that you can, for one thing, figure out how you're going to implement MBD in your environment, but also so that you could show some success stories to colleagues and to management, and then they can understand and they can get excited about the idea as well.
はい、まずはですね、最初に小さな、チームでですね、パイロットのトライアルのモデルを選んでですね、実証実験を実施してください。これによってどんなメリットが得られるかというのが、共有できると思います。
The other thing I would recommend is to join industry working groups related to model-based definition and some of the standards bodies. So for example, we have the Digital Metrology Standards Consortium, which is the group that develops the QIF standard. Definitely, I would recommend getting involved there. There are organizations in Japan like JETA that do very good work with model-based definition, and so get involved with these organizations as well, and you could learn more about how other companies are solving similar problems to that you have.
はい、産業界のワーキンググループに参加してですね、情報交換することによって、いろいろ役立つことがあると思います。で、弊社も参加しておりますけど、JETA という電子部品工業会の、ワーキンググループは国内にはありますと。
And then, of course, it's important to secure leadership support. And so it's important to think about how you're going to go ahead and do that. Running pilots, obviously, is one way to do that, but that always needs to be a focus, is how are you going to show that MBD, which is a very difficult thing, is, in fact, a very valuable thing for your organization.
はい。次がですね、リーダーシップってこれ日本で多分経営層のことだと思います。経営層にですね、しっかりその MBD、がですね、どれだけ重要かということを理解してもらうところがまた重要な、予算化とか含めてですね、重要になります。
And the final point is I would just remind you that, to remember that you're not alone. You can consult with other users, find out about their experiences, and definitely I would recommend that you speak with companies like CAPVIDIA, like QVI Japan, that have lots of experience working with large enterprise on implementing model-based definitions step by step, and we're happy to help you through this process.
はい、まずは担当の方はですね、最後なんですけど、孤立しないでくださいということで、問題を抱えてそこで止まってしまったら残念なことになってしまいますので、信頼できる専門家ということで、コンサルタントとかアドバイザーとかですね、あると思いますし、CAPVIDIAの弊社みたいに、ツール提供しててサポートしている会社もありますので、十分相談してください。はい。
And with that, I'd like to conclude. So thank you very much for your attention. It's been wonderful to present here, and I look forward to speaking to you after the presentation.
はい、今日はご参加ありがとうございました。この配布資料にもありますけど、QR コード読み込んでいただくと、PDF ダウンロードできますので、よろしくお願いします。また、ご質問等あればですね、Y20 というその正面の通路にある小さなブースですけど、そちらで、弊社のスタッフ、またこの後おりますので、ご質問あれば、お立ち寄りください。ありがとうございました。